I think the Ghost of Yotei release date actually says a lot, and in case you missed it, they dropped a brand new trailer, and it just looks awesome. The character face is getting a significant increase in detail compared to the previous game. The combat animations look very, very well done. There's a crispness to the world, just the overall presentation, the scope, the distance, just how far you can see in some of the shots, the use of color. I think this game is going to compete for the best looking, best art directed PlayStation game this gen, right up against Death Stranding 2, which will probably be the crown jewel of this gen for PlayStation. But the release date, I think, does say a lot. And before we get into that, if you like these really quick videos, make sure to hit like and subscribe. That way you don't miss out on my content. So the first thing that the release date communicates is that it's not delayed. So I'm sorry to all the fan fiction writers out there who kept saying that Ghost of Yotei was delayed. I'm not quite sure why we always go through this with PlayStation games. These same people claim that God of War Ragnarok had been delayed and then it showed up when it was supposed to. Spider-Man 2 was allegedly delayed because they waited to do the release date with Jeff Keighley. And here we were again with the biggest and probably strongest first-party studio from PlayStation in a while, and we have to constantly hear that it's been delayed. Well, it's not, and it's releasing on October the 2nd. And that leads to the second thing that I think we can extrapolate from this release date. I think PlayStation knows the release date of GTA 6. I don't think GTA 6 is delayed. I actually think the current rumor and whisperings that it's landing mid-November really lines up with this. Now, originally we had heard that like Yotei was landing in July, and I thought, well, that kind of fits. Late May would be Lost Soul Aside, late June would be Death Stranding 2, and then late July would be Yotei. Just get everything out in the summer. But since November, a mid-November release date and an October 2nd release date would be more than a month and a half apart, I think it actually tracks and makes sense. This is also roughly a week or two after the release date of Borderlands, and we know that that's the same publisher as GTA 6. So they probably thought, hey, that's a pretty safe place to land. We know we're not going to get suddenly overshadowed by GTA 6, but I also still feel like PlayStation being a part of the marketing from what we're hearing, that will kick up in May, and they will be a part of it. The third thing I think from this release date we can extrapolate is that PlayStation is probably happy to let their first-party studios cook. It's very clear that they consider first-party games either something they're publishing like Lost Soul Aside or something they have in sort of a deal like they do with Death Stranding 2. And then they have obviously things like Yotei, and that I think frees them up to let those first-party studios just take their time. And as a huge fan of Ghost of Tsushima, I can't celebrate that enough. I would rather wait for a game to land in an excellent state, especially with the status of games lately where they come out and they're clearly not ready, even when you wait for them for a really long time. But I do want to give my thoughts here just at the very end about the gameplay and some things that we are hearing with the focus on the Yotei 6 and how there's going to be 6 bosses. I hope they maintain a distinct difference between like an actual boss fight that will typically play out in a duel, as well as just the duels that happen in the open world and throughout side quests and stories. There were 25 duels in Ghost of Tsushima, and similarly there was about 6 or so bosses, and I think that's the right way to do it. I would really not want to see the duels downplayed or lessened in favor of like more traditional like punctuated boss fights. The duels are a huge element of what made Tsushima so enjoyable, especially when you go back and you replay them and they're a little bit harder. So overall, I think the Ghost of Tsushima and the Ghost of Yotei franchise is set up to be very strong, and the release date for Yotei really says a lot, and it should mean that the year is just getting started and just filling up. But those are just my thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave them in the comment below. And as always, make sure you hit like, share, and subscribe so I can see you in the next video.